I like the hashtag for Shane's class better.
Okay, my serious question.
Working on SS?
Yes!
That was a great time. All right, let me do a little housekeeping and then we'll get into some questions because I do want to do a little bit of housekeeping for everybody that's here. Main thing is that the video that I tried to get up last Friday, Saturday, just got up last night. Thank you, Comcast. So if you haven't seen it, there's a lecture, 30-minute lecture on the 4 C's of YouTube. So did we see that go up yesterday? Or I put an announcement out there, so hopefully you got a little bit there.
Did you see that Comcast got like the worst company in America?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
So,
But it wasn't their fault.
right, never is. Never is.
No, there was a crash. It did make Comcast
Right,
go.
but there was an actual award given to the worst company in America. Yeah, that was their fault. That was their fault. But the outage, the outage was not theirs. Okay, so
Pinterest or did Pinterest find you? Your hair. Oh, that's so cute.
Rachel, what? Come on.
I'm sorry.
Let's do a Ask Lacey anything about her hair day.
Okay.
I love it. I think it's fantastic, and I'll try it later. Okay, so no, last quiz. 4 C's of YouTube is there and online. If you've taken it already, let me know so I can like reset it so you can take it with the actual discussion attached. So that last final video was posted last night. It's linked in the module. If you go down to the module, you'll see 4 C's. It's 30 minutes. It's me, my beautiful face, talking for 30 minutes about the 4 C's, and then you take the quiz after.
This may be kind of a subject, but it's not meant to be. But I just discovered this time on this 4 C's quiz, they can speed up the rate he talks, so it doesn't take 30 minutes.
Great. Inside of
YouTube.
Oh,
Is that
like
YouTube?
the HTML5 player you can speed up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, ask me a certain player.
It has like a little setting, little thing.
Is it the clock player or is it a different one?
It
The gear?
looks like a gear, yeah.
You can do that on any YouTube. You can watch something twice as fast or 3 times as fast. Yes. And you still hear everything I say. That's a great idea. Oh, that's great. You guys are pressed for time. I just want to give you the information. If I could give it to you in 10 minutes, I would. Okay. I also tend to ramble, but I think that's my trade. Teachers just have to be able to do that. Do you know why we do that? I'll tell you right now. Ask you anything. Somebody asked me, why do teachers ramble?
Here, let me tweet it.
Here's my take on it. I think that a lot of the things that we do, and I'm going to totally generalize this to everybody, is because we know that we're going to drop these little sprinkles of information that you need to know for a quiz. And we know that we're going to drop other sprinkles that may not show up on a quiz, but will still be like good life lessons for you to learn and to be a part of. And so we ramble because we know that you're not paying attention to us 100%. Right? If I knew that you were tuned in 100%, I'd be like, listen, you know this, you know this, you know this, you know that, goodbye, we have 5-minute classes. But we got to go for 50 minutes so that I can spread it out because in the meantime, your brains are going 100 different places. And I just want to make sure that I'm dropping the right stuff right now. It's science. Somebody should write a paper on that. That's brilliant. Okay, so again, I'll take questions for today. Remember, Wednesday is a work day, so bring your stuff to work on. It'll be our last work day, and then you have the weekend to finish up your final projects, and those we will watch on Monday. And again, I'm excited to see them.
We do have class on Monday.
Monday is I would say yes, there is class, but I've had a few requests from people who are going to be out of the country or going somewhere else, and I have excused them and said, go ahead, don't worry about coming. But I really think that we should be here. If you're on campus at all, you should be here because we're going to watch some cool stuff. In fact, I happen to know that in the queue for Monday is a fantastic French cat video, which is going to blow the internet up.
French cats?
Yeah, right? Is it getting better subtitled? Cats? It's going places. It's going places. Okay. So, ask Drew anything. Dear Hangout World, anybody that's there watching, you can ask any of the questions. Tweet them, #DrewsClass, or in here, #DrewsClass, or raise your hand, and we'll start. What was your question? Do you remember what it was?
Well, now I have 2 questions.
Okay,
First
good.
off,
Yes.
do you actually have viewers on your Google Hangouts right now?
Yes.
You actually do?
Yes.
That's cool. And second off, does Multicam work with just audio and then video?
How so? What do you mean?
Like shooting a music video, someone recorded in the studio?
Absolutely. So you can like lock in audio for the entire thing and swap video throughout.
Swap it, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And the way that works is that there are these little icons on Final Cut and just about any multicam editor, and you have one that's like waveforms and then one that's like movie pictures. And when you go to the very beginning of your multi-edit,
so you select
it's like this, and you tell it which one of the audio is coming from, and then you select this for the rest of your cuts where you click back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah, I noticed I was using multicam, and on my last project, I used it, and like the audio was like, it seemed like when I clicked it to the next like switch the camera, it would
Audio is
like,
going with you.
you know, but like it would like, yeah.
By upcut, because it's changing audio and video at the same time, and they're straight edits. So along with these two, this one is like waveform style, this one is audio. There is one that is both. I'm not sure what the symbol looks like, but it's basically both. And so if this is selected while you're clicking back and forth, it's cutting audio and video for all whatever shots you're taking. It's audio, video. That's where yours came from. So what you want to do is set your audio at the beginning, click on the one that has main audio that's not going to change, and then you can go back into the one that's video only and make sure that's highlighted as you click through the rest of the shots. So I can show you. That's a little beyond the scope of this class. Don't worry about that. Manderson, your turn. You're up.
What's the best way, because I did this on my last project for this class, what's the best way to splice a clip without making it sound like the clip is spliced? Because audio, journalists are going to splice clips all the time.
Okay, so by splicing clips, do you mean?
So I'm taking something from that she said in the beginning of the interview, and I'm putting it with something she said 10 minutes later, so I make it look like, so I can match the video or whatever.
And of course, while doing that, you're also making sure that you're not changing the substance or the context of what she's saying.
Of course,
Good,
of course.
Okay. So here's what's happening. Let me explain to you what's happening, why you hear the separation of those clips. And this goes for any audio editing that you do at all. What we have is on any of those clips, you've got a waveform. And in that waveform, usually around this level, this room noise. It's that hum, it's that hiss that you hear wherever you are, right? So if I have room noise across here, and this is my 10-minute clip, and I have volume. You guys notice this, where it has little peaks and valleys of where the audio is happening. And if I want to take something and say, I want her to say this, because maybe she says her name, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I have 56 kids. And then later on she says, it's crazy, I don't know how I handle it myself. And that's down here. You gotta find a way to put these two and let them back to back, without that upcut. So what gets in the way is this level of audio across the bottom. That is that room noise. Because even if you get really good at editing where where she takes a breath or what she's doing, you've got to get frame accurate to be able to smooth the one together. So ways to get around that is on Final Cut especially, you want to detach that audio and make sure that it overlaps just the slightest bit. So even if your video is a straight cut, your video happens here, video V, and these are your two audios, you want to overlap them just the slightest bit. You can only do that if you separate them. And then overlap them a bit. And then remember, I showed you that there are these slight little handles that happen here on the edges of both of these. When you hover, those little balls show up on both sides. Slide those in just a handful of frames, and it puts a nice little rounded audio curve in. By doing those, if you do them, now here's key. If you do these and these are not overlapped, one is going to fade out to nothing before the next one comes in with something. And if you have that room noise or that kind of slight airy noise, you will hear her say, I'm so-and-so and I have 56 kids. It'll go down to 0 and then it'll go. And I think it's really crazy. Right? You'll hear this dip in audio if you keep them apart. If you slide them over each other just slightly, you can get them to kind of fade in, and that room noise is what you're hearing. That's what you're hearing, and you hear those clips kind of separate. You hear that like whoop, whoop, in the middle of things. So part of the frame accurate editing, and the other part is smoothing it out. It's like putting a little polish to it. I love the polish. These are great questions. I see that you have some concern on your face.
So how do you get the thing again? You hover over it, you said?
So hovering any audio, even if it's attached, I should probably pull that up. Hover any audio, and on the very end, you'll see this right where the audio line is. So if this were a video audio clip, there's a line there. You can usually see video pictures up here and audio down below, right?
Right.
So the black line across here is your volume, and if you hover right there on that end or that end, you'll see this kind of a circles. And by dragging that in, so if I drag that in, it'll tell me how much it's doing the fade. It'll do the slightest fade, and you'll see it kind of darken this bit over here just slightly.
Okay.
So give that a try and see. But that is kind of that polish. Because if you think about it, it's just like running through the woods or something. I don't know how to describe it. I love analogies if you guys haven't noticed. But it's like audio-wise, if you have a rough entrance to a piece of audio that has room noise, you will hear it pop. You will hear it because it's all of a sudden it's saying, oh, I got to play something, and then it'll start playing it. If you round it up, it gives it a chance to kind of go and you don't even notice it. So slightest, even 3 frames is enough to kind of fade into something without it popping. It gets a lot worse when you're trying to catch somebody that's speaking and you get like mid-breath or you get the mid-word, and that's why you'll see me when I edit. I'm constantly doing the command plus, command minus. I'm zooming in and zooming out on that timeline because I want to see the exact frame and I want to be able to see on that waveform that I'm starting before somebody talks. So, but sometimes it is inevitable. I mean, especially in news where you're usually cutting very fast. You just roll back as quick as you can and try and get as close as possible. Yeah, all the time, but they're doing it as fast as they can. Excellent. These are looking good, and I'm loving the questions. Let's see. Well, I'll take one here from this side. Lacey Lou looks awesome today. Woo! Where'd she go?
Lacey Lou.
Somebody totally tweeted that you look awesome. Do you want to come stand in front of the camera so everyone can see it? Okay, awesome.
No, my pen exploded on me, and I
Oh.
tried to fix it.
I'm so sorry. I have nothing for you. There you go. Thanks.
You're not in France, not seeing it.
We're
watching.
It was. He just dropped out. Christopher Murphy wants to know self-regulation. Detail that for me a little bit. What do you mean?
So I'm just wondering because more and more people are freaking out.
Yes.
The top quality content on YouTube. A lot of people aren't even getting cable subscriptions because you have weekly, daily shows on YouTube.
Yes.
And money's being made, money's being given, money's being taken. It's getting big. What's going to happen?
Okay. So my take on the future of YouTube, how to
I
impact
guess so
cable?
because we have like the FCC
Mhm.
and all those regulatory boards that kind of keep everything in line. There's rules.
Right. There's rules in the, especially FCC, because they have to broadcast it. There's the airwaves.
Right.
So in the internet world, you don't have to worry about transmitting or any of that kind of stuff, other than net neutrality and the network.
Right.
But in the way of content and distribution, I think what we'll see is a little bit of what we've already seen with YouTube calling up their YouTube partners, and they've kind of called out and said, "Great, we want you to produce for us. We want you to produce for us." And I think Machinima, Mogulus, there's a couple of them out there that have grabbed people that are making waves and said, "Come make for us," because they have that infrastructure,
But
that kind of
anybody
large
can be a
infrastructure.
YouTube partner. You're just not going to get paid unless you're getting a lot of clicks.
I guess that's okay. Technically, the term YouTube partner is I want to saddle up with YouTube and so I can monetize my stuff and they put ads on it. There's a different YouTube partner, and maybe I got the wrong name, but there's a different one that is you will come with us and make content for us.
Okay.
Right? We will promote your stuff and we will share your stuff. And so there are channels now on YouTube that they fill with content coming off of YouTube. Regulation-wise, I don't know that you're going to see. Part of the beauty of the internet, I think, is that there's a freedom there, and you're not going to see a lot of people coming in to try and legislate what's happening there. I think that you will probably see a little bit of demand, and we see it a little bit now, where people want to maintain not only safety, but like safe viewing, so that we may see more ratings. At some point now, you have to do like, I'm older than 18, I can watch this, right? You'll see some of that just because there'd be outrage if that people weren't kind of putting out some sort of rating system. But in the way of regulation from the government standpoint, I think there's enough people on the internet that have a feeling that needs to stay free. But you won't see. I don't think we'll see much from there. People will try, but I don't know that it's going to happen because YouTube's a public company and they'll make their money. So that's my thoughts on it. That's my thoughts. Anybody else want to know? Questions, answers? You guys are all so intently studying for another class or something. I know. What I've got here is, let's see, how do I take video from YouTube? Did we learn that in class? We didn't. Does anybody want to know how we steal videos?
Oh,
There's
I just
tube
like
capture.
that.
Did you? Good.
Yeah, I like
So which one do you use? Lacey, which one do you use?
I did the SS in front of the YouTube.
Okay. Does anyone know that one? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what SS stands for. Steal stuff, youtube.com. ss.youtube.com.
So if you're just on the video you're on, you just go right after the period on www.ss and then keep the address.
And that gives you a site which then sucks that exact video off.
Oh,
And gives
so I
it
don't
to you
have-
what format? MP4?
It gives you a whole bunch that you can.
So I don't have to
Yeah,
download
yeah,
TubeCatcher anymore. I've always downloaded TubeCatcher.
And some of them that are there get picked off by legal teams that are like, no, you can't do that. So I've always used one called KeepVid. KeepVid.com.
I use save
Yeah.
vid.
Or not,
SaveVid.
no, dot.
I sent you
Just
a link to a
SS
program,
YouTube.
Rachel.
Yep, SS.
There's a couple out there. SS YouTube is
I
pretty,
sent you
is
a
pretty
link to
good.
it, bro.
And
Thank
easy.
you.
On Twitter.
There's like a billion browser extensions.
Yeah,
on it, too.
I think Chrome has tons of extensions that you can save those videos off. What's nice about those is that you can then have access to things that have been created by somebody else, and that's great. What's not so great is that you've got to watch out then for licensing agreements. You know what I mean? Like if I suck down video from Coachella's live performances the last 3 days, which has been pretty awesome, then I've got to tell people where I got that from or what I did. Somewhere in the description, or maybe even on screen that just says this video from, or when you're taking stuff from the internet, you should be citing it. I don't know if you guys realize that. Anything from the internet should have some sort of citation, even if it's a description in your video or tag or something down the description that says video of X came from this channel. That's key. Because and here's the reason why I say that. A lot of times you guys are thinking, okay, I'm just gonna get through school, so I'm gonna link to this, I'm gonna use that, I'm gonna put this image in my school project. But those habits carry over, and someday you're gonna be working for a client and you're gonna go grab some sort of image and throw it in a video, and all of a sudden that client's video is gonna do really well, and the wrong person will see it and say, oh, I guess the right person would see it, and say, that's an image that I shot, and then you're going to have issues that you don't want to have to deal with. So don't get in the habit of stealing things. Find Creative Commons sources, things that you can give attribution and not have to give credit. Example of this happened pretty recently. There was a photographer who went around and actually was hired by, I think it was Color Run, or one of those companies that does all the color runs, and he was like freelanced out to them, and he worked a lot with them, and then they started using his photos to promote other things that he had not agreed to. So as a company, they just grabbed his stuff because it represented what they did, but without compensating him at all, they went out and used it for a lot of their promotional and banners and flyers and things, and he went back and said, that's my picture, and I didn't say that you could use it for all of that stuff. They had their court wars that probably cost them all a lot of money. So not a good habit to start with. Favorite movie in terms of cinematography? This is a good one. Good question. I really enjoyed, I said it's hard, cinematography. I don't watch that many movies in the theaters. There's a reason for that.
Anything.
It costs way too much.
YouTube movies.
Cinematography, the style that I really like has been the stuff that Desmond Supertramp has done, where he sets up a story with some really quick shots to give you an idea of what it is they're going to be doing. And then I like usually the first minute after that, where they do the setup and then they do the big rope swing, or they do the big, longboarding down Hawaii roads. So those types of shots I really love. Anything that you have to have like a car with a gear strapped onto it to capture the shot. Stuff where they have like the mount that's hanging off right next to the road. So I love those types of shots, especially I guess I like unique camera shots. Anytime that you get a camera somewhere and you go, how did they do that? Like there are some where they'll look through the passenger window and then the shot will come out, look in front of the car, and then come back. Right? Those types of shots, things that I could never do on my own, right? Without like a big thing.
So you're saying you want to invest into a Mobi?
Yeah, Mobi, right? And that kind of stuff is. So those, yes, I love those because I think it gets my head thinking. Wow, that's what I haven't tried. I've taped cameras to the hoods of the cars, and I've taped them, everywhere. That's kind of stuff that I love to kind of see.
So does your brain go like this every time you watch a movie? Is it like
Yes,
impossible for you to get?
Yes, sadly, and I hope I ruined it for everyone too.
No, it's okay. I checked my.
That when you watch things, that you think about the edit. I think about edits more than shots myself because I love the editing of it. That's my passion. But it does. It kind of ruins it for you.
No,
You watch it and you think about how they storyboard it and how they did. Like the Coachella stuff I'm watching this weekend. I love live. So I'm imagining while I'm watching. Who was even playing? I think it was Fatboy Slim or somebody. Oh, Lord showed up to do a set. While I'm watching, I'm not going, why is she wearing pantsuit again with the halter top? What is, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, I bet they're going to take that wide shot next. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, stand by camera 2, take 2 wide. All right, 1, why don't you flow around the back and give me an over-shoulder shot so I can hit the guitars and Lord's shoulders. Take 1, right? So I'm directing it. That's what I love. That's my geekery, yes. I love live. I do the same thing with, what's that? Wipeout. Where they're waiting. I try to put all those things back in. Lacey, go.
That new movie,
Oculus?
Oculus.
Tap.
So they did a shot where they're talking, and they're trying to switch sides. And so what they do is they start with the guy who's talking, and they start to go behind her head, and then she starts talking, and they go on that side, and they start to go behind his head, and it's just like, it's switching because it's supposed to be era.
Yeah, but it makes it eerie, right?
Yeah, and so then it both switches, and then you notice that they switch, and it's just
Creepy and weird,
Yeah.
and unsettling. That's good. That's good. I mean, we talked about that. Your edits have effects on how the viewer perceives things, and so to get that, to do that, what's it? Oh, The Shining. They did it in The Shining quite a bit, where they would flip that accent on purpose to make you feel
Or like the Blair
uneasy.
Witch Project where they shoot the camera all over.
Yeah, that's similar. So right, it was an intentional design to get a certain feeling. Good. These are coming in.
Because you wouldn't let me do something like the Blair Witch Project here. Where I shoot the
Absolutely,
camera all
absolutely not. I am a firm believer you got to know the rules before you break the rules. Right? You got to know what you're doing before you get in there and mess it up. Okay. Tips for someone running someone else's Twitter page. This is excellent. 70% original, 30% retweets is
yeah. What do you
true.
think?
What about the link retweets? Okay, here we go. Here's my take on running a Twitter for somebody. You got to know, they got to know that Twitter works best with persons, with personalities, right? So if you're running a Twitter page for somebody, they've got to let you have a little bit more of a personality than just latest article link, right? Or whatever it is, here's our latest product link. And when it comes to percentages, I would say yes, 70% original material and 30% retweets is just fine. And I think that's fine. If you think about how you use Twitter as a social media, you want to drive people somewhere, right? Not a lot of people are driving people back to their Twitter. It happens. But you want people to follow you so that you can funnel them into a Facebook page where you have more information, funnel you into a WordPress blog or any sort of blog where you have more information, or more than likely funnel you into something where you buy something, right? So Twitter is that we reach out to you to tell you all of our stuff and hope that you'll find your way into, making us some money or growing our brand. So I think you're accurate there with the 70-30. I think that works just fine for running somebody else's Twitter. But I think in that 70, that original content, there's still got to be a split between all business and interaction, right? So if you were constantly posting the same thing, like, hey, I put this up on my YouTube an hour ago, watch it, and then an hour and a half later, hey, a little while ago I put this up on my YouTube, watch it, and then 2 hours later, hey, if you're interested in this and this, you should watch this. Right? Those messages are going to hit the same people over and over, and they're going to get pretty bored of hearing you type the same stuff. So I think key to that 70% is that you're not spamming, but you're allowing people to interact and engage. You're asking questions. Take, for instance, somebody that has who is running a Twitter for somebody else? I know I am. I do like 4. What do you do, Liz?
Yes.
Fantastic. Lacey is our Twitter.
Rachel, don't you run
Let's run it through, though.
Twitter?
Let's run it through.
Raise your hand.
So there's a couple of us.
This question.
There's a couple of us here that run for somebody else. So Studio 76 specifically, it's not Lacey's personal Twitter account, but what does Studio 76 drive? Why are we on Twitter?
Get people to watch your TV show.
So where are we driving them to? Our
Wildcat
YouTube videos, right? Wildcat One, our YouTube videos. That's where we want them to go. So if somebody's tweeting for Studio 76, what types of tweets do you think are going to make sense for that stream? Is it just going to be, we published this today, please tune in?
No.
Right? This is the movie that's going to be on Wildcat One tonight at 6 o'clock. Great. What else? What else should we be doing on our Twitter channel? Take notes.
Throwback Thursday.
Throwback Thursday, because everyone does it. But in that, you're writing a hashtag, right? You're writing a hashtag that may be seen by more people.
Would you want to encourage like conversation, like
Yes.
question or something?
So what if we posted something like the Ronnie Chavez, he came and did parkour across campus, did some crazy stuff. So if you posted a video like that, it would say, watch Ronnie Chavez do parkour, jump off of 20-foot walls that you've seen all day long, or that you walk by during your school time. Would you? I wouldn't ask, would you try anything like this? Because that's crazy. But asking something like, have you ever wanted to free run to class? Or did you see him when he was here, right? So that kind of engagement, I think, would be ideal. What else? What other kind of tweets would you expect from even the signpost or Studio 76? What would you expect to see on the Twitter?
What we're doing things. So like if someone posts, it's like, this is what we're covering today, stay tuned for the article or things like that.
Twitter lends itself very well to being a behind the scenes, right? Especially for a news station. They can say, you know, Monday morning meeting, here's what we're working on today. Or you see a lot from Mim Winslow, he does a great job of this. He'll tweet out any sort of information he can as quickly as he gets it, and always adds.
I think he just connects his brain to the Twitter.
Right?
He just thinks it.
And it goes. But the key there is that you've got something. I think Studio 76 does an awesome job, can do an awesome job of doing behind the scenes stuff, right? We pull out some really cool equipment and we do some fun shoots, and anytime we pull up in the studio, it should be a shot of either something in the studio or the control room, something that just says, we're about ready to tape another version of Yi, what are you hoping to see? You know, stuff like that. So I think that goes, media companies, it's easy, there's a lot of stuff. During that production period, you've got tweets. The Signpost could have a Twitter account for every reporter and make them required to tweet 3 things about their story. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know, you guys did something like that, or did you have a Twitter?
Been making them do Twitter, but
Yes.
only like 3 of them do it, so.
Hey,
Make-
I tweeted
make them
out
harder.
that power
Make
outage
them
on
harder.
Friday.
See?
That was Friday.
Yes!
Totally makes
Hey.
sense.
So, but this is key, right? Think about all of the people that you follow on Twitter and what you like about what your interactions are. And then as a brand, you think about how that fits, right? Because a lot of us use Twitter as kind of, this is my friends and family, or this is just a way for me and my friends to talk during class while Drew's giving a lecture. I know what's going on. But think about it as a brand, how do you want to interact with people? How can you answer things? Those are excellent, excellent questions. What else can I talk to you about in the digital media realm? You guys have so many questions, I can see them burning.
Somebody said, where do you see live streaming on the internet in the future?
I see this. You ready for my dream, my vision? Right now, broadcast TV has one thing over internet TV. It's live. Live sports, live newscasts, live, I'm trying to think what else happens, live news.
But you've got things like MLB TV and stuff like that, where you can stream live sports.
Live sports on the internet. What's going to happen in the near future is that some of those big players that are pushing streaming, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, there you go, I was like, I know there's one more, Amazon. Those are the guys that are going to somehow, at some point, get a contract to do live events and live sports for sports or news or live anything. So the things that used to be like, this is all you need to watch on TV because you have to be there when it's being broadcast. Some of those bigger players, Netflix and Hulu and Amazon, I think will be the first ones in the next probably year and a half, 2 years.
But baseball does their own thing. Right?
Why?
Yeah.
Let's answer that question. MLB TV does its own thing. Who else does their own thing?
They
NCAA
have
live
like
stream.
3 million subscribers on.
Why would they give? I don't think they give it up, but why would they pair themselves with a Hulu or a YouTube or a Netflix?
They're already paired. People pair with them.
People, okay, but why would they pair with one of those 3 bigger ones?
Your user base.
Bigger user base, 3 million to billions. It's bound to happen. So that's what I think. Cable's already kind of dying, right?
Yeah.
HBO Go, you still have to have a cable subscription to watch the HBO Go. So
That's what
yeah,
you do,
right?
and
It's
and
coming.
the reason that cable's dying is why sports teams are giving out billion-dollar contracts or whatever.
No, it's coming. I absolutely think it's coming. So that's my take on live streaming. I love live streaming, and I think it's going to get easier. I happen to have friends who are right now coding and programming and trying to create somewhat of a replacement for the control rooms that we see in news stations. How many have been to KSL, Channel 4, Channel 2, somewhere around here and seen in one of the control rooms? So, okay, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that some of you have actually been there and seen those. If you look in there, if you worked in a TV station or if you've been there, you will see like walls full of TVs, big boards and buttons in front, and like 10 people running the show. About 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, a company comes along with a TriCaster and says, you can do all of that in a box. So they start selling these boxes and saying, you can put your cameras in a box, and then you push your keyboards, and you can watch the videos pop up and put graphics on. And then they got bigger and bigger, and they've gotten the control surfaces now that you can, same buttons that they have in the newsrooms, but they're just bigger. So like we have down in the control room in Studio 76, you've got all that stuff there. You do the same, we can do the same show that KSL can do out of our studio. So how do I see that happening more and more? And like I said, I have friends that are kind of designing that for the everyman. YouTube's already starting to kind of get that right near the Google Hangout that we're using. I have the ability to hook up more equipment to that Google Hangout, and I can do multiple cameras, better mics, I can do graphics, I can do a full set of things through Google Hangout that it didn't used to be able to have, have access to. So I see live streaming becoming more and more prevalent because that's kind of the world we live in. We want to see things when they happen, but yet we still also want the ability to watch them when we get home.
We want to do what we want to do is we want to be able to pull out our phones and watch the baseball game. That's what we do.
That's me too. Me too. I tell you what.
I
went. I've seen one baseball game, and it was the Rockies, which happened to be in Denver for a student thing. And one of my favorite students. I don't have favorites. I'm just kidding. One of the students said, "Let's go watch a game." And so I said, "Sure, I'll take you guys to the game." So we all went to a Rockies game. I think we were probably 3 or 4 innings in before I leaned over and went, "Hey, Corey, when does this start again?" Like, I had no idea. I had no idea, but it was just like, is it going to start soon? She's like, "We're 4 innings in." I was like, "Well, these guys are still practicing on the field." She's like, "No, that's the game." So that's me in baseball.
But 3 million people can't be
Isn't that
wrong.
horrible? No, I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying it's not for me. So I'm not the one pulling out my phone to watch sports.
But I'm just saying that's what people want.
Is it? Raise your hands. Is that what you want, people? You want to pull out your phones and watch
Not baseball.
baseball?
Not baseball, but sports. Like, people want to watch. People want to
I
watch
agree.
the programming on their phones.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree.
I would not watch
I
it.
watch
Do
South
that.
Park on my phone, and that's all. Hey, Drew, you might want to erase one of your
Your dots.
there.
Why? What's going
Look,
Somebody
look at your last
tweeted
tweet.
it, and they were like,
Oh, I
OCD
see.
me is freaking out about that one dot on your white.
Which one are you saying? Oh, that's not a dot, Rustin. That's not a dot. That the dot? Buddy, is that the dot? Tell me, is that it? This is Rustin, folks. Let me introduce you to Rustin. He's in our stream. Thanks for joining us. One of the coolest people I know. Rustin is he's kind of I don't know, what do you call yourself? Like a master of all trades? I think that's what he is. He's master of all trades. He does some awesome things. If you ever want to pick somebody's brain about event planning, put this guy's name down and hassle him. I gave him permission. They're coming your way. Rustin
About
does
what?
event planning, event coordination. He does the halftime show and the pre-shows for the Super Bowl. He's done stuff for, I'm trying to think, I don't know if you pulled off the one for the hockey shows we were talking about, the hockey things, but anyway, big people come to him, and he plans huge things. So he's also a coder, if you can believe that. So not only does he know all the stuff in the PR world and does all the event things, but he also is an amazing coder. So I'm gonna have to. Oh, my watch keeps beeping. That's the dot. Good. I'm glad we got it.
Hey, you can tell them that was me. That went like this.
Yes, we've talked about Lacey looking for an internship because Rustin knows a lot of people that are looking for PAs is what we talked about, right? There's a good thing we talked about. In some digital media world, you guys all need an internship to get out of school, right? What's the point of an internship?
Tell you just what to do.
Get your hands on things in a real world, right? Be able to do things that you can then put on a resume or then show to your next employer. So one of the jobs that would be an excellent start is not an internship at all, but a PA position, a production assistant or a producer's assistant, depending on what business you're in. And that job is ideally the person that's there to help out with whatever the event's going on, and somebody will tell you what to do, and you just run and do. And if you want to be a good one, you just do whatever they ask, no excuses. I've had several, I wouldn't call them PAs in my world, but they'd be like grips or assistants on film sets or on shoots. You know, I run the guerrilla style, so I'm usually going really fast and furious. The guys that I bring back to my shoots are the ones that get stuff done no matter what. The guys that don't, like, I don't call again are the ones that show up and go, yeah, I tried to do what you told me to, but I just couldn't get the car out of the garage. You know, it's been like an hour, they just couldn't get something figured out. I want somebody that can go and do it hell or high water and come back and report. Yep, you got it. Whether, you know, they had to sell a kidney or whatever, I want to get it done. So that's key. That's key. Okay. Rustin, if you have anything else you want to throw in there, please join me. Rustin's got skills. He's brilliant. Okay. What else? What other questions do you have in the digital media realm?
Get a shout out to me.
Money making? Yeah,
I
go.
think I asked you this already, but where's the best place if you're a beginner and say I wanted to buy an editing program,
Excellent question.
where would be the best place to buy it and which one would you get?
Excellent question. In fact, I'll run this through for cameras and editing systems. Is that okay? Here's what I'll run down for cameras and editing system for getting things started. you gotta imagine this. You gotta know where you want to go and what you want to do, right? If somebody tells me, hey, I've got a great deal on a Canon 5D Mark III or something, right? It's still going to be $2,500 even if it's a great deal, and you're going to have a lot of other money to go into it. So if you're just getting started, I would start in one of two places. If you're interested in doing artsy things, I would get a DSLR, which we haven't done a lot with this class, but that's your digital cameras that have interchangeable lenses. And a whole other tangent to that is probably within a year we'll see a lot more cameras that are video cameras with interchangeable lenses. We've already seen quite a few, but we're going to start getting them down into our price range. So a DSLR that I would recommend would be the T3i.
I just shot one of those last week.
What do you think? Do you like it?
Yeah, I think I like it more than the regular camcorder, video camera.
Yes. The reason why? T3i. They have a T4i and a T5i, and usually a T3i just has a really solid base, but they keep coming out with them. The reason why I like DSLR is because you can change those lenses, but it gives you a depth of field, and that's something that our camcorders do not give. So I could say, grab a $400 Handycam, and you're going to be able to shoot things, and you won't have to worry about a whole lot of stuff. But if you're going into anything that's artistic or at least wants to be polished and looking good, camcorders are great for a kind of a flat look, because it's either all in focus or it's none in focus. We've talked about depth of field a little bit, and you know that we have, you can have a scene and you can have the whole thing sharp and ready, or nothing. DSLRs allow you to kind of pick and choose. I can put one person's nose in focus and have their ears out of focus. I have that ability with the DSLR. T2 has my favorite. Canon has my favorite lens, my favorite glass. I just like Canon, but there's nothing wrong with anything else. It's just my preference. Anybody want to add to that? Does anybody want to speak up for Nikon or anybody else? You guys shoot Nikon?
Yeah, we shoot Nikon.
Okay. So they're out there, but I'd never hire them.
Those cinema lenses are expensive.
Yeah. So even in that DSLR range, you have different lenses you can pick up. I believe a T3i goes for about $400 or $500 for the body. And if you get a kit, you can get it for
No, it's $500 for both for a kit.
For a kit, $500. Yeah. Okay, so $500 for a kit, and you can get them. And I'm sure you can find them on KSL for even cheaper than that. So that's the camera. But with that, you've got to understand more than the camcorder. On the camcorder, it's much easier to hit go and have things work out for you. On a DSLR, you have two issues, and one is you've got to understand ISO, shutter, iris, right? We've talked about those in this class, but you've got to have your hands on them more readily and for every shot. The other thing that changes a lot with the DSLRs is you've got to have better audio, because none of them have super sweet audio on board. Camcorder is kind of built in with that idea of oh, we're making a movie, so we need sound. DSLRs are built with the idea of we're taking still pictures, and they're going to be beautiful. Oh yeah, we can take a bunch in a row and call that a movie. And they're still kind of coming out with we'll upgrade the audio in this. So the audio is always a kicker. I highly recommend if you're going to do a DSLR that you throw a Rode video mic, R-O-D-E, Rode video mic on the top. It's about another $100 I bet, 150, 100. And it's a boom mic, right? So yeah. We've used lav mics, we've used stick mics. The Rode mic mounts right on top of the DSLR and does a really good job of interview sound, especially. I can sit from here to Anthony, and I can take I can get great sound from him. Whereas even with my camcorder, if I didn't have a mic on it, it's going. Remember the microphones are on the kind of side of the lens. It's going to pick up this entire room, and I'm going to hear a lot of hiss and noise, and he's not going to be very loud. Whereas that video mic on top will do it. The other alternative to the Rode mic is the Zoom H4n. The Zoom H4n is a fantastic mic that's versatile as well. It'll do voiceovers. You can use it as a stick mic. You can plug it right into the DSLR so you get audio right on your card, or you can run it separately. And I could put something by you and set my camera up, put it back here, and still get good sound. So that's the H4n, but that's about $250. So there's your camera setups for anybody that's interested. Those are good starters. That's sub $1,000. Under $1,000, you can have a full set. Throw some lights in there, and you're good to go.
So if you're going to be
I'll get software in a minute. Don't let me forget.
Production assistant or a camera person for a news organization, do you need all of your own equipment?
No. Well, I say no, but if you're going to work for a newspaper, at this point, especially in this market, they should have something much lower than Market 100 or something. I would ask somebody when they hire you, do you guys have equipment, and if so, what is it? Because it may make sense to run your own stuff if you're more familiar with it. Because anything in the journalism world, you want to be fast and you want to be able to handle it quickly and do it, right? So I'd say in this market, yes, everybody's going to have something for you, but you want to know what they have.
Because the stuff that I've seen from the Standard, they use Adobe Premiere to edit their things, and their cameras are just like ours. But when I covered this the send off for the plaintiffs for the temp court circuit thing at the library. Did you check up here? Anyway, remember you? Okay. Everybody there had DSLRs with that mic that you were talking about. More so than the other cameras that I've seen, except for KSL with their big.
With the big ENG style, right?
Of course. And so I'm wondering, I'm like, maybe that's what I should invest in because I could also take really good pictures.
And that's why it becomes the journalism workhorse, is because it's fantastic at stills, but it's fantastic at video as well.
This guy had like it looked like headgear. Like he looked like such a dork. It was like, but it was like mounted on his shoulders so that he could just like walk around like this.
With a DSLR?
Yes.
How funny.
So
Yes.
like a steady cam.
Yeah, it's like a steady cam, but that he could do a little bit more hands off with.
Yeah.
Sounds extra geeky. I'd love to see it. But you'll see it because you have fewer and fewer hands when you're doing anything like that. You'll get the DSLR with the Rode mic on top, and they have a hot shoe on top, so that's like one thing that can connect. But if you want to throw lights on there, you've got to add some other brackets or things off the side that you can put lights, mics, wireless transmitters, right? It starts to kind of
my own PVC.
exactly, and they're out there. I can help you with that.
Awesome.
Excellent.
So you'd recommend getting one of those?
Yes, absolutely. Let me talk software, and then I'm going to address what Rustin throws in here. So software, there's a lot of great stuff out there. What we use here, Final Cut Pro, if you have a Mac, is a good way to go, $300, because it's one that you can grow into, right? You can get on there like we've done, and you can run through all the paces and know how to put things together. But yet it has all the bells and whistles in there for bigger and larger projects. Premiere has all the same ability, and I love it. It's daunting to students, and it's daunting as like a first like pull-up. When you pull up Premiere, it looks like you're in the cockpit of the 777, right? I mean, everything is in front of you, and you've got to know what to hit, what not to hit. So that's why I've chosen that, because I love Mac. That's why we've chosen to do Final Cut. But they are I'd say they're transferable, but yes, you could learn everything that you want to out of this class about storytelling, about editing, about polish, frame accuracy, and then you can go pick up Premiere. Give yourself a week or two to kind of watch some tutorials and figure out how it operates, and you'll be able to drop right back and forth one or the other. I've cut on Final Cut for the last probably 10 years. On and off inside of that 10 years, I've cut on Premiere, Avids, Media Composers, Liquids, Vegas. So I've cut a lot. So with those, which one's best to start with? I'd go with. So you got the iMovie, and then you got Premiere Elements, and they're both kind of that same like $50 range where you like get started. But I feel like after this class, most anybody that would start with go back to an iMovie or back to a Premiere Elements, I feel like you and I would hope that you'd feel like, oh, I want to do this and I can't, right? I hope you feel restricted because that's why they're cheaper, is because they're stripped down versions. So I would say, yeah, Final Cut or Premiere are fantastic. Vegas is right up there. I think
Vegas is really expensive.
Vegas is about $600 now. It used to be much cheaper.
And like
It was.
Premiere is like a yearly fee, right?
And that's why I think I would lean on Premiere. So money-wise, that's a big deal. I would say invest whatever it is. And I think students get a discount, but get that Creative Cloud. Creative Cloud for like $30 a month, and you get not only Premiere. Is it 15 for students?
For students.
Okay, so jump on that while you're a student before you graduate. To be able to have access to Premiere, Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, what else? I mean, After Effects, Encore, I mean, Audition, everything that you need. I don't know if you recognize any of those, but that's audio editing, that's picture editing, that's picture
You
making.
can actually get a standard
motion
edition for
graphics.
$20 a month.
So that's where I go.
So you just go to Creative Cloud and sign up?
Find out. I actually go down to the bookstore. Make sure you get that student discount.
Yeah.
Right. Make sure that you get that. I won't tell you what us teachers get for deals. It's like $15 for 2 years or something.
A year.
Or a year. It's insane. But for students, it's still well worth the $15. If you think about it, it goes like this. When they had CS1, CS4, CS5, CS6, and they started doing these every 2 years, these big rollouts of Adobe products, you would still buy them at close to $1,200, $1,400 or something for that whole set. And it was parts and parcels. It's like, okay, if you want to do web, get this one. If you want to do video, get this one. And most people would have to get both. This idea of subscription-based, over the 2 years, you're probably still putting out about the same amount of money. But to be able to do that in increments is much easier on the pocketbook to plan for that. And let me add in to this discussion on what to buy and what to start with. Rustin adds this. Never wait with the excuse, I just can't afford the blank I need. That's BS, he says. I would add to that and say, yes, get what you can get at the starts, but don't set your budget too low. especially if you're thinking about making money with this. Anybody that's thinking about doing wedding videos, come talk to me. If you're thinking about making videos for clients, right? Anything about wedding videos, just because that market is so saturated in Utah. But I wouldn't say don't say I'm going to wait for it, but don't go too high, right? Don't pick up a 5D when a T3i can do, right? Give yourself somewhere to grow into, but don't go so far that you're saying, I just took $10,000 of debt to do the first couple of gigs I'm going to do that are going to net me, $500. But do get that level of gear that you are comfortable with and that you can grow into even a little bit more. Same with software. So I'd say sub 1,000, any one of you could have a company and walk out the door and start making money. And video, video makes good money. You can walk up to any shop that's on the internet, Facebook page, has a website, and talk to them and say, hey, I'd love to make you a video. Here's some that I've made. I can make you one for X number of dollars, and you can pick up some gigs. Even just friends and family, you can find some and say, hey, I made this. I can make you one for $500. And a lot of them, because they know that they need some rich media on their website or on their Facebook, they'll happily take you up on that. All right, I think I covered that. I should catch up with my tweets. Gosh, I'm so glad that KT Day and Rustin are here. Those are. If you haven't followed them on Twitter, you should. If you like anime and geekery things, they're both brilliant guys that just have lots of goodness to say. They're like sages on the mountaintop, only you don't have to hike to the top of the mountain. They're right there for you on Twitter.
They are the
right there on
grass on
Twitter.
the other side.
They are amazing. Let me tell you about KT real quick. So KT Data, Kevin is his name. He and I have done a podcast for the last year or so about crowdfunding. He has, in his very own house, I call it a studio, but it's his front room, he has basically what we have in the studio, a TriCaster. He built it himself. So he has all the components and pieces to take multiple cameras in and switch live on his Mac, which then he records and streams live at the same time. So if you ever want to watch me on Tuesday nights, I do a live show every other Tuesday. So tomorrow, if you tune in, follow KT, you'll hear all about it. So he basically built that all himself and just went out and then said, oh, I'm going to need one of those. Okay, I need that. I need this. And he's built this whole system, done the graphics design work, and then he produces a show. And then the Tuesdays that he doesn't crowdfunding with me, he does anime. So if you're into that kind of thing, he does a fantastic podcast with anime. And both me and the other co-host, we just Skype into his machine. I just call him up on Skype or Google Hangout, and we can interact and talk and have a full live show. And anybody here can take my advanced class and or possibly Studio 76 class, and I can show you all those same things. Like how if you want a podcast of how to do your hair like a Pinterest queen, I can show you that. How do you do that? So it goes along with the 4 C's. So if you watch that lecture, which I don't know, I got up late last night, you probably haven't watched it, but it goes right along with growing a community and using those 4 C's to do so. And Spencer.
So when I'm doing my voiceovers for my pieces, and I don't think if I just use my phone like I used to record my interviews usually, I'm going to get a very good sound. I know the radio station has that mic. But what would you recommend, like, even for this class, or is that an amateur without the fancy equipment I use to get a good sound when I'm doing my voiceover?
Here's your two keys. Here's the answers. So in this class, use the same thing for voiceovers that you would do for an interview, right? So if I'm going to sit down and put somebody on a lavalier mic on somebody and set it up and record them, you should do the same thing for your voiceover journalism mics, right? You should sit up, put that thing on the exact same space, and
so just like trying to signpost mic every minute.
Yes. Wear headphones and double check. Like, don't record the whole thing and then go back and listen to it and go, I sucked it up. Put some headphones on, make sure you get a good sound, record a section, put that on the machine, listen to it, and say, that sounds good and clean. So that's one. Second one is if you don't have the things that we have here, a phone will work fine, a laptop will work fine. I would put even $50 into a USB mic. If you have $100, get a Yeti or a Snowball or something. But even then, control your surroundings. Much like we used to talk about controlling the light. Mike Rowe, you guys know Mike Rowe? Dirty Jobs, Deadliest Cats, that kind of thing. Oh, yeah. He's often on the road when he does his stuff, and so he climbs in under the duvet of the whatever hotel he's staying at, and he will track his show, like broadcast Discovery Channel shows, under the duvet. Because of why? Why does he climb under the duvet? There's no echoes at all. So I've done this with people at cons where we need a voice track, and they've come over to my hotel room, and I basically handed the talent a microphone and said, get in my bed. And they've done it, and I totally got a great piece out of it. So, sounded good. That's what I meant.
You're down on the line.
I'm down on my life. Did it drop?
Yeah.
It says I'm live up here. Check it again.
Please stand by.
Mine says it's still live, and it's still bouncing. Somebody lost us. I'm gonna add in. Let's see, what else do we want to add? I love that Rustin and KT are joining us. Oh, let me go back because I almost missed that one. Oh, and then I see one from Connor. This is great. So Rustin adds, it's always nice to have the better stuff, but the gear is way less important than the inventive, creative talent. And that's the truth. That's kind of where I went with the story about KT making his own setup. He couldn't afford a $40,000 TriCaster, so he took $3,000 and built one, right? Creative, inventive. I don't expect you guys to do that. If you do, let me know. It'd be cool. But yeah, it's not about the gear. It's about using it well. Right? You've probably seen this. There are tons of films that are fantastic shot on iPhones because they understand how iPhones work in light. They understand how they can put that story together. They understand that we watch landscape video and this is the shots that we need, steady clips. I mean, you can Google it. There are tons of films. So yes, I second that absolutely. Any other questions? Feeling good? Going strong? I want to hear from some of you guys that I haven't heard from. I'm going to talk to Connor real quick while you guys think about it. There are some of you that I have not heard from. Some of you that make stuff, I know you make stuff, and some of you that are just quiet making. So I want to hear from you today. What are some things on your mind? What do you think about?
Hashtag I gotta go to work.
Hashtag make some money. Okay.
Hashtag.
So Connor says, how do you find no budget run and gun digital media gigs and jobs? It's a great question. At one level, you can assert yourself and find people that are making that type of content or have a need for that type of content. So you can find companies that would make it if they could and then offer you services. And make, for $100, I'll give you a piece from this convention or a piece from that would be, to your audience. For instance, an anime blog or a cosplayer, type of group, something like that. You could say, hey, the Salt Lake Comic Con's coming up, I can make you a 4-minute piece that looks like this. And again, giving them something to look at is always the best seller. I can make you something that looks like this for X number of dollars if you're interested. So that's one way. Basically, sell yourself. The other way to look for the jobs that are posted, KSL has them on occasion in the classifieds, but I usually go to a place called Mandy.com, M-A-N-D-Y. I have to explain every time I type in Mandy.com, saying, no, this is really for video work, I promise, because it's just a weird name. Mandy.com does it across the world, basically. They have full-time jobs, no pay and low pay type jobs listed for PAs, for film. It's a lot more film-based, but they will say, hey, I'm looking for an editor to cut this up for me, or I'm looking for a shooter to go here and shoot this. So Mandy's a great one for that. Elancer, I found a few gigs on Elancer that actually lasted long-term. In the motion graphics world, that's an easy one because people know they want motion graphics, but they can't really find people to do it. And so they'll go to Elancer. Talk about Craigslist in a minute, but Elancer, Mandy, and they'll look for people. And then you still have to do your due diligence. So just jump on one and be like, it's a good site, I'll take it. You still got to do due diligence, find out what they're doing and how they're working. So I found one from a guy called Fire Gang, I believe. He's over in Madison, Michigan. Did one gig for him. They liked it. It was quick. It was the easy $50 for me, so I just made an animated open for them. And they came back probably 6 more times throughout the year and said, hey, can we get one for this? Can we get one for this? Can we get one for this? And for me, it was an extra, $50 sitting at home watching movies that I wouldn't have made otherwise. And now they've kind of slowed off because they found somebody in-house that does it. They hired somebody. But I found that on Elancer. Craigslist used to be a great place because locally you could be like, who in Salt Lake wants this? Or even in the West. Unfortunately, now it's overrun with, I need a female model for a shoot that I'm doing. Please send pics. If you want to be considered. It's actually really not very good. Every once in a while, something will come up and you can jump on it. Please, I hope none of you end up being that guy that's like, I want to make a feature film and I'm going to find all my actors on Craigslist. Don't. So that's why I'd say, again, wherever you go looking, be skeptical. A lot of it comes with who you know. I had a guy that's a shooter for Channel 2 right now. He's a photographer. He just texted me last night and said, I lost my motion graphics artist. Do you know any? Or do you do them? And I said, yeah, if I got time, I can try to help you out. So he had a gig that something was due today that he needed some animations. You like Iron Man where he's like throwing things around the screen. He's like, can you do that? I said, show it to me, I'll give it a shot. Can we do that thing? So it's a lot of it's just who you know. So letting people know that's what you do helps. Does that answer your question? I want some more. Anything else?
Sure, I guess.
What other questions do you have in that realm?
Is there any way to get like assist on like small stuff and not necessarily like throw it all together yourself, but just start assisting just to build up a
Yes.
demo reel.
Yes, an absolutely good idea. For that, I would join groups like DSLR Users of Utah, or there's a Utah Film Commission group, like just Facebook groups. Find them, and I can show you some ones that I follow. But that type of stuff is great because people will always say, "Hey, I'm working this gig. I can use some help." Or if you see somebody saying, "I just did this," send them a quick private message and say, "I'd love to learn a little bit more about this. Here's some of the stuff I made. Can I come help you on your next one or something?" And so basically, it's asserting yourself to get in line, especially in this biz, because the people that talk are the ones that get picked up. Right? People that are like out there saying, "I can do that. Give me a shot." Are the ones that get picked up. All right, am I missing anything here? All right, was Andy? Did you have something in the back there?
No.
Just stretching. Just stretching. Good. Other questions? I better go. Oh, Ashley.
Does Studio 76 do website productions if you wanted, let's say I wanted to start a website?
Like an actual site?
Yeah, advertising my business or something? Do they do stuff like that?
They're mostly, I mean, we're all video.
All video?
We're all video. That's a good question. I don't know that there's anybody that does, like an entity like on campus that does site development, other than maybe if you went down to like computer sciences maybe, or NTM. I don't know. NTM probably has, they probably have something, but I don't know if they have like student organization up to it. But I can, I can walk you through it. I don't know if there's classes out there for like website, and I can cover it. That's something that I tried to fit into this class one semester, and it just pushed us way too slow on some of the other stuff I want to do. But let's take a quick poll for the guys in here. How many of you would like to see an element in this class a week or so on like just basic web management, like backends, WordPress, setting up a WordPress, or anything there? There is a Dreamweaver class, and it makes me vomit every time I hear it.
Really?
Because I mean it's good, and it's personal. Right. This is my personal take on Dreamweaver. It's just been around way too long, and I think there are far better ways to code and to create things than learning like from scratch Dreamweaver style.
Well, haven't you taken code classes and never finished?
Like HTML?
HTML I can get around because I've done it. That's a different code I'm talking about. I'm talking about learning Ruby and Python and that kind of thing. That's the kind of code. But yeah, I can do HTML.
I would love to learn HTML, and I don't even know where to start.
There's a class over at NTM that does teach it to start with. NTM. NTM has a web design class.
I heard it's not it doesn't teach you how to do HTML very well.
There's well, I don't know what they teach over there, but it's so easy you can teach yourself. Like, I mean, if you're talking about like website, go to here's what I think I would tell people in the class that wanted to do websites. I would say go to Squarespace or WordPress or just the bare bones. Get somebody that's going to have that template for you, especially the business side. If you're selling something business, go to Squarespace. That's my favorite. Because they have. You're selling yourself? What?
Personal website, like this is awesome.
Craigslist. Didn't we mention that already? No. So if you're doing a portfolio, which many of you digital media majors will probably end up doing for your senior seminar class, digital portfolio is easy to do, doing WordPress or a Blogger or something similar, and there are other ones out there.
Is the $18 a year or whatever worth it with WordPress to not have the .wordpress.com?
Yes. Yes. If you're selling yourself, yes. So if you wanted a Rachel Jane News or whatever, like .com, it's worth 18's a lot. You could buy that domain somewhere else cheaper and install WordPress on it.
For 10 or 12 at GoDaddy.
Yeah, GoDaddy's I would myself. I love name.com, and then DreamHost or Bluehost are both like better than GoDaddy. GoDaddy's okay and all, but they're like the Walmart of domains, right? Yeah, on top of the advertisements. But I would say those are my favorites. And if you ask Rustin or KT, they will both have their own great opinions on where to go to get domains and sites. But that's kind of the ideal when you're making your own site. Is you want to have a place for that house to live, and you want to have a name for that house, right? It's an address. If you go to WordPress.org, you can figure that out, and they'll do it for you. And yes, that's probably why it's worth $18 so that they do it. You don't have to worry about it. But it is really easy to say, give me RachelJane.com and put this, this back end on it. That's pretty easy, and I can show anybody how to do that in seconds. So I can save you money. Because if you go to like places like DreamHost, they I believe did $9 for the hosting. for like a year of hosting, which is the two parts: name registration and hosting. So I can answer any of those questions if you don't want to take a class. This is good. Before you leave, I'm going to add these 2 thoughts from Rustin for you. To break in, find a mentor. They will help you learn and help connect you if you are worth connecting. Does that make sense? That kind of goes to what we were talking about, Youth Founder, like where do you find those gigs? Find a mentor. Find somebody that you can go to gigs with, and that they'll teach you everything that they know, because they're the ones that are going to connect you to other people. That's how we were talking about production assistant, Lacey. That's exactly that mentor. Find somebody that you can be like, okay, I'm working for you, I'm going to do this for you, I'm going to make you happy. If they like it, they're going to come back to you and start, singing your praises and getting you those other jobs. The other thing he adds is don't need a code to have a website. There are very good ways to have sites without worrying about the back end, right? You don't have to know any of that stuff. I love to tweak things, so that's why I learned my HTML. So that one I do know. That's the one code I do know. But yes, there's so many ways to have pretty websites. Squarespace is one of them. I love the way they look, especially if you want to have a shop inside that you're selling things, Etsy style or otherwise. Squarespace is totally worth the $8 a month to have a beautiful site. And it looks good for portfolios too, like resume. It's really pretty. WordPress feels kind of static to me. Depending on your template, it can feel really almost like page 1, page 2. Squarespace is a little bit more organic and flowy, sexy.
It's their Spotify ads.
That's what they say? All right. You look like you're ready to go. I'll let you go. Are you just want to hang out some
One
more?
more.
When you're just eager to leave, it's like, I got 10 more minutes. You sit your ass down. Okay, listen. Go ahead.
KT Dennis said, don't get too caught up in the back end. People tend to get too involved and forget why they started to create content.
Exactly. So do you guys catch that? Don't get caught up in the back end. People get too involved in the back end and forget why they started to create content. That goes right along with those 4 C's, right? If you don't want to do, watch it. But one of those is being consistently posting things. If you're starting a blog and you're trying to grow that audience for a blog, don't get so lost in trying to make it all perfect and look pretty before you start being consistent about your posts. Tell yourself how often you're going to post and start doing it. And then when you have some free time, play in that back end to change the look and the feel. Same with that portfolio. Make it, get it up there, and then kind of work with it. We have this tendency, especially as creatives, I think we have this tendency to be like, I'm going to show the world until it's ready. And that goes with video, that goes with vlogs, that goes with anything, and we just kind of go, push to do anything. I say, get it out there, start it going, and start with that consistency, and then you can do advertising.
With consistency, the other question is I've done some YouTube videos that nobody watches, where it's just me talking.
Yes, we all have.
But I do I like my subject matter kind of jumps around a lot. Would you recommend a separate YouTube channel? If I'm going to do one on politics, keep it all on the politics channel, and if I'm going to do another one on baseball, keep it all on the baseball channel?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, because you're growing an audience. And unless you want to grow an audience with politicians who love baseball, you're going to have a very small audience. And I talk about that in the video, so you'll go watch that. But I have a whole section that you can watch double speed now. Thanks to Heather, you can watch that quicker. But there's a whole section there about consistency means not just posting at a regular interval, but posting things that are in the same vein, right? If I want to be a gourmet cook, my wife wants to, blog about video gaming, we should have 2 separate channels, not like the Tyler family channel, because that's not going to grow anything. Although I know at least 2 people that like video games and food, so maybe you can have it. Anyway, you go down to that niche world, right? Which then, if you have the niche, you can.
Does YouTube let you have more than one
Oh
channel?
yes, I have 4 that I manage of mine, and then I have logins for 14 others that I manage for other people. So yes, I know it's crazy. So for instance, and this is new. This is pretty new. So I have my personal channel that puts stuff up in this class and anything for clients unlisted, and then I have a little Big Cast channel where I put all the stuff for our PlayStation podcast is on there. I have one for the startup admin downtown. I have a channel that I manage for them, but it's under my name, my login. And what's really nice now, and this is something that, again, is new, if you have a channel or somebody has a channel, for instance, the Salt Stack videos that I did not too long ago where they had 40 different sessions and they wanted me to edit them, they were able to have the channel. They had the full control of it. They added me as a manager, and as soon as I'm done with the gig, they can take me off as a manager. We don't have to exchange credentials. It used to be that you'd be like, here's my password and login, I do the work, and then they go back and change the password and login when I was done. So now you can actually make managers and kind of type in Google Plus.
Do you have to set up different emails, or you can have multiple?
Yeah, one email and multiple channels. One email and multiple channels. Just say start a new channel. Excellent. Anybody else have any other questions? Still good in here? I didn't hear anything. Did you have questions? Megan, is that coming to you? Come on. Come on, there's got to be something.
I asked a question
You
earlier.
did, you got a good one. There's gotta be more. What else do you want to know? I'm a font of knowledge.
Monday, you said we had to come to class on Monday.
I would like you to come to class on Monday to
But
see.
it's not required for attendance?
No, not required for attendance.
Are we gonna have a party? We should have a party.
I want to have a party and I want to eat popcorn and I want to watch all the videos that are done.
Popcorn
So
really
that's
was the best party you can have.
Good. You're not going to be on campus. Is this the only reason that you're coming to campus? And I would say, you know, I'm not going to hold you to it.
Because this would be.
We should have.
Yeah. So I'm not afraid of that. That's fine. But I do want to know who's coming. Anybody going to come on class Monday?
Oh,
Figure this out.
everyone.
Okay. The smaller the number, the better our treats are. Just kidding.
Yay!
We'll probably pop-
Whoa! What is he?
All the
After I told
Yes,
you the
oh,
whole
bring it
world
down.
how awesome you looked today.
It'll be good, but I want to watch all of those final videos because I know that they're going to be good.
And come back with Black Forest
I
Star
tweeted to the whole world, all 62 of my followers.
Yes. Yep. There you go. Sign up to Google Plus pages. Okay. And nothing else. You may continue to ask the questions with the Drew's class hashtag or at the next one. I'll answer whatever I can. Watch the video on the 4Cs. Take a quiz. Come Wednesday ready to work. We got things to edit, and I will do technical helps on Wednesday. So if you want to bring in your your interviews that we talked about here, the slide stuff, I can try to soften those. If you want to see anything else, Multicam.
class
I don't know that I'll have the same problem.
No, it's work day. Work day. I will be here to help anybody on Wednesday.
Because I only had one interview, I don't know. Because I only had one interview, I don't know that I'm going to have the same problem this time. But in my last video, there's a spot where you can hear that I jumped in the audio.
And I can help you. Part of it's their reflection on their voice, right? Part of that gives it away, but at some level we can.
And unless you're doing something like the South Park episode where they brought the chick back and you're blind and
I know
you're
what you're
bad
talking about.
splicing it,
I know what you're talking
but
about.
they bad splicing it on purpose,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Know the rules before you break.
Sorry, Rustin, we'll have to get to that one later. Rustin just asked what my favorite product is that I've ever produced, and if I have a favorite.
Tomorrow audio project.
I have lots of favorites that I've produced.
What's up?
You know what? My favorite one that I ever produced
Yeah.
never saw the light of day.
So,
True story. True story. We redid a Pitbull song that was with full students, jibs, cameras, Steadicams, lights, actors, and it was really, really good. Exactly like Pitbull filmed this moment. University of Communications got a hold of it and said it was too close to the original, and they never let us show it. It was meant for orientation, so everybody in the whole school was going to see it, and then they didn't clear the license.
I'm not okay about it.
I have to show it to you someday. I thought it was really cool. Thanks. Can you get that dot off the board for Rustin?
It's
You can
hard
do
not
that.
to
Get that
feel
shot.
that much. No, I mean,
Yeah, no,
are you still live?
I think, yeah, I'm live. I think he's still around. He might be off.
I had
I'm saying the same
three
thing in a
questions.
different way.
Two about your
Yeah,
opinion.
Not a whole day.
No, no,
It's not about, yeah.
I'm still live.
But in the news, they do that
One was,
splicing all the time.
Like 2 credits to studio, that's pretty easy, or what?
It's pretty easy. So it'll probably adjust over the summer and fall, but it's pretty easy. It's basically I want eight pieces that are produced, kind of like what your final project is in this class. I want 8 of them, and that means like every other week you are
Producing.
either shooting in interviews, or shooting an interview and B-roll and putting it together, that kind of thing. So that's 8 plus about 15 studio helps, which means that when we shoot things like the cat call or anything that's happening in the studio, that you're there, and that's about once a week.
Wait.
So really, if you think about it, we only meet for 1 hour on Mondays, and so if it were a normal 2-credit class, you'd have at least another class time. So making a piece every other week and being in studio once a week is pretty light.
Okay.
Todd, aren't you gonna be on staff?
Yeah.
You might as well take 3 credits worth then.
Would you recommend that, or?
It's really up to your schedule.
Yeah, it really is because
Yeah, I feel like
and it comes down to how many semesters you have left. If somebody's only here for 2 semesters, I say, yeah, just jump in and take as much as you can that fits your schedule. But if somebody's still got like 3 years, I say take one every semester because you're involved and you know exactly what we're doing and you can jump on what you want to jump on, but it's not overloading stress-wise for your coursework, right? So I'd say one is fine if you're planning on doing another 2 or 3 years. Just sneak out of the shot.
and then
questions.
I'll go
Yeah,
ahead.
he's got like a list.
No, yeah, I'll go
If
ahead.
it's dried out. What I want.
My question was that you said that I could take studio 3 times and will still fulfill the upper division course.
Mm-hmm.
So even though 2 of them will only count for actual grade,
After elective depth, I mean, you'll get a grade for them, and
Yeah.
that'll be your elective depth.
like
Because you can count that up to 6 credits.
But then if I take it like, let's say if I take it like 15 times, then it would count for all 40 of the sessions.
Yes, it could. I think so.
You think so?
We better, before you do something that crazy, we better
Yeah.
check. But really, they'll take
that's
anything that's 3,000 or 4,000 will count in that 40.
Yeah, you said to do the studio class one extra time to add 3 credits, so we can cover that 40 upper division.
Yes, and that's the reason for that, because we need to get up there. It won't count for your depth.
Sorry, I'll leave.
So funny.
Yeah. So Tyler, tomorrow audio project, and I'm gonna die. So many essays to write.
Yeah, that's what I love about this class. I don't have to grade any essays. We still want to do that show pilot. We want to go on a camping trip and make it happen. Yes. I don't know if you're still on, Rustin, but yes, absolutely. In fact, this summer is looking up for me. I want to do stuff. I want to make stuff. But Stacy's going into the master's program, so she's out. No, she wants to do stuff too. Rock on. I'm going to cut down. Thanks for joining us, guys. Thanks a lot.